to all the suspicions and uncertainties, but just to stick with the method and to suspend the doubts, to see how things work out as we progress with the practice. Now, as the meditator continues with his practice of serenity meditation, continues developing concentration, he arouses in his mind 5 mental factors, which are repeatedly strengthened and reinforced by his efforts. These mental factors are called the 5 factors of absorption, the 5 jhana factors. They are initial application, sustained application, rapture, happiness, and one-pointedness. Initial application, vitakka, is the mental factor of applying the mind to the object. It is said to have the function of lifting the mind up and directing it to the object. It makes the mind strike again and again at the object. The second factor, sustained application, is the continuation of that. It's the factor of continued pressure on the object. This factor keeps the mind occupied with the object, examining it, applying the mind again and again to the object, keeping the mind anchored on the object. The difference between initial application and sustained application is illustrated in the text in this way. Initial application is like the striking of a bell. Sustained application is like the reverberation of the bell. Or initial application is like a bird striking its wings to go up into the air. Sustained application is like the bird continuing in flight. Initial application is gross. Sustained application is subtle. Initial application brings the mind to the object. Sustained application fixes the mind on the object. Then the third factor is rapture, or piti. This is pleasurable interest in the object. Interest which can range all the way from a momentary thrill of delight with the practice of meditation, all the way up to overwhelming ecstasy, where the body and mind are flooded with rapture, with ecstasy. Then the fourth factor of absorption is happiness or bliss, sukha. Happiness is the pleasant feeling that accompanies the practice. It's something that's somewhat different from rapture. Happiness is a feeling, whereas rapture is a full state of mind. And happiness begins as a new kind of pleasure, pleasure which is purer and more peaceful than sense pleasure. And then as it's developed, it rises up to the height of bliss, to very pure, tranquil bliss. Then the fifth jhana factor is one-pointedness of mind. That is concentration, the focusing of the mind on the object without distraction. Now these 5 jhana factors, as they are nurtured through the work of concentration, they counteract the 5 hindrances. The 5 jhana factors and the 5 hindrances are aligned with each other in a one-to-one relationship, so that each jhana factor opposes and shuts out one hindrance. Thus one-pointedness of mind counteracts sensual desire. Rapture overcomes ill will. Initial application shuts out dullness and drowsiness. Happiness or bliss overcomes restlessness and worry. And sustained application puts away doubt. So as these 5 factors emerge in the mind, they bring about a gradual purification of the mind from the hindrances. And when the 5 hindrances are fully suppressed, fully excluded, then the mind enters into a state called access concentration, upachara samadhi. The word upachara means suburb. So the mind in this state is now in the suburb or neighborhood of concentration. It's approaching the royal city of deep samadhi. The hindrances have been conquered, vanquished, but concentration is not yet fully matured. The texts compare access concentration to a baby or a child that's beginning to walk. He gets up, he walks a few steps, then he falls down again. But the meditator continues with his practice, continues to fix the mind on the object, striking at it again and again. As he does so, the jhana factors become stronger and stronger, until when they reach full maturity, they plunge the mind into the object with the force of absorption. This is called uppana samadhi, absorption concentration, full concentration, so that the mind becomes fixed upon the object without any wavering, without any vacillation or shaking. Now the mind is like a man who can get up from his seat and walk as long as he wants without falling down. The first level of full absorption is called the first jhana. The word jhana has no real adequate equivalent in English. We can call it absorption, but it's just as well to keep the Pali word jhana. There are 4 jhanas, each one deeper and subtler than the other. The first, they're called just by their numerical sequence. The first jhana, the second jhana, the third jhana, and the fourth jhana. Each of the 4 jhanas is defined or constituted by a certain set of factors, which are the jhana factors. The first jhana has 5 factors, the 5 already mentioned: initial application, sustained application, rapture, happiness, and one-pointedness. In the second jhana, initial application and sustained application are eliminated, and so there are 3 factors: rapture, happiness, and one-pointedness. In the third jhana, rapture is eliminated, and so there's 2 factors: happiness and one-pointedness. Then in the fourth